Welcome to Stay Sparked. We are three longtime friends here to share inspiration with you, aim to light you up. I'm Betsy.
I'm Halcyon.
And I'm JANUS.
On today's episode, we talk about nervous system regulation.
How to notice when we are dysregulated and what can we do to bring ourselves back.
And how we can build relationships of trust with the people we love so we can help each other grow through our triggers.
Enjoy the episode. Hello, Stay Sparked listeners. Welcome back. So grateful to be here with you guys. We are so delighted to share another conversation aimed to inspire and light you up. And as always, we love starting with gratitude. So I will spark us off with my gratitude today because it's very fresh. The ocean. I am so grateful for the power of the ocean. I got to swim in the ocean yesterday. It was 64 degrees and powerful roaring waves. I felt just a cleansing and purifying of my body from the salt water. And afterwards, I felt my heart rate up, and strong waves just kind of gave me just the right amount of challenge. And I'm just so grateful for the opportunity to swim in the ocean.
Nice. I want to jump in with, I've been practicing mundane gratitudes lately. So I am feeling so grateful that my trash and recycling bins can stay in the alley. So I don't have to remember what day it is. It's always out there. They just get emptied, throughout the week. And I never have to, schedule, look at a calendar and wake up in the morning and try to get the trash bins out. So I'm just grateful that this incredibly easeful way in which trash leaves me without me having to think about it.
That's awesome. Lucky you. That is something to be very grateful for, because most people, I would imagine, have to put a lot more effort. So yeah, that's awesome.
It's funny. That reminds me of the saying that, which is about people who vex us, but it's similar things like, well, sometimes the trash takes itself out. So that sounds like Halcyon's got a similar situation. The trash is just gone, just takes itself away. So that's good. So I hope this doesn't feel like a cop out, but it's really true. It's my gratitude for today is I have gratitude for the practice of gratitude. I have really kind of I've redoubled my efforts to feel gratitude and appreciation for all the little things like Halcyon is like talking about. Just like everything, the pillars of having a roof over my head and food in the food in my belly and my fridge, and having I've got a new practice of giving. I'm not a big money hander outer when people are on the side of the road or the corners asking for money, but I've kind of retaken that up a little bit, and I'm just grateful when I'm reaching for my wallet that I am grateful that I have a couple dollars that I can share, and I'm grateful that there's always I'm just thinking about how grateful I am throughout the day, a lot of the day, and that just feels good. And yes, I'm finding the more gratitude I have, the more things I have to be grateful for. It's such an old saying, but it just absolutely is kicking in, and which is not why I do it, but I do it for the feel good of it. Yeah. So yeah, grateful for a gratitude practice.
Yeah, amazing. Yes, it is a practice. It's a muscle. I think of it as a way that we can train our bodies and brains to come back to gratitude. Yeah, well, I love that. Kind of leads into a little bit about what we're going to talk about, because today we are feeling inspired to share a conversation around the nervous system regulation and different practices and different personal experiences of being in touch with our very highly intelligent nervous system. We all share that in common. We have our bodies are very complex and profound and intelligent. And there's pretty hot topic these days about nervous system regulation. And so we wanted to see what kind of sparks might come out of a conversation here. I'd love to actually start us off because I've recently had a quick moment of a fight or flight, which, is like our primal nature. If a lion is chasing after us, then our bodies go into this state with all these chemicals that start moving through the body. And we've all likely experienced that, and it's not these days, obviously a lion's not going to chase us, but someone can throw us off by yelling at us, and that can, or like a nasty email, or getting in a car accident, for example. Like those moments like that can be triggering to the nervous system and send us into a dysregulated space. And so recently I had something come up that was really not that bad considering like the circumstances. I was ultimately safe, but something that happened in my body in response to this experience was shaking, crying. I was really like ungrounded, and my breath started to get really short, and I just was kind of like overwhelmed with emotion. My whole body just was like flooding with all these chemicals. And it was very insightful for me because there was some pieces in there that I started to reflect upon afterwards around how to keep a healthy vagus nerve, which is basically responsible for our nervous system, or is a big part of it. So that way I could navigate a situation like that in the future with more grace, because something must have been off inside of me for the response, right? Because it was really not that big of a deal. If I was more grounded, or if I had been staying committed to my practices like I normally do, but I hadn't been, then that like just kind of sent me spinning. And so I've been in a lot of deep reflection around that, and also like wanting to check in with you guys around, how do you regulate your nervous system? And is this a continuous practice? And is this something that all of us as humans need to be focusing on regularly these days? It feels like it's an important part of our health, right?
Oh my gosh. Yes. I mean, and I think maybe for me, a precursor is the understanding that this is something that happens to you. I think for most of my young life, I didn't know that when I'm agitated, that my brain is actually in a totally different functioning process than when I'm calm. And until you know that, you think that you are still using all your logic and you're still using all your reason when you are hyped up in your reptilian brain, freak out. And I think that just knowing that when you are dysregulated, your brain is not working the same, and knowing that the same is true in someone else, if you can just kind of get a little bit of that self-awareness or knowledge of other in the middle of the agitation, it's so much easier to kind of like, okay, wait, don't throw the nuclear bomb right now. Don't attack. Don't start holding this against them. Like, I think it's off. And if I can remember, and I mean, that's super hard because you're in that part of the brain that doesn't want to hear it. We talked a little bit, beforehand of when you are agitated and someone says, take a deep breath. What's the response? I don't need to take a deep breath.
No. So much resistance. Yeah. Why do we have so much resistance when someone says to take a deep breath, when the deep breath is actually what will help us to calm down and soften those chemicals and like actually be able to think more clearly.
Yeah. Well, that's, I think because we respond to somebody telling us to take a deep breath or suggesting that we take a deep breath, we respond to that the same way that we respond to somebody telling us to calm down. You need to calm down. It's like it hits us the same way. It's like, I'm telling me to calm down. So, how I've come to this recently, and not to get all super into life stuff, but it has traditionally taken me a lot to get wound up, to get dysregulated. It's hard for me to get angry. It's hard for me to get wound up. Not hard, but I don't normally get wound up. I can stand pretty solid in the face, and I've always kind of been that way. I can stand solid in the face of somebody's anger or wild emotions and normally be okay. Of late, some challenges in life have kind of been happening where I'm that ability is getting kind of tested on a regular, or has been getting tested on a regular basis. So I'm finding like, normally it's like, oh, it takes me a lot to get wound up. It was starting to take me less to get wound up because it was happening on a regular basis, to the point where it's almost like like an engine was getting primed. So it's like a lot easier to get like, getting my chain pulled is like, I'll get fired right up because I've been pulling it for the last several weeks, or it's been getting pulled for the last several weeks. And so finding myself getting like super activated, super fast, which was a new experience for me, and being like, wow, okay, I actually need to work on some tools and have some tools in my kit so that I can get back to regulation when I am dysregulated. Finding myself dysregulated was such a infrequent kind of occurrence, and it's become much more frequent of late. So I'm like, okay, wow, I actually need to have a practice. I need to have some tools. And so, kind of being on this journey of late has revealed some pretty good tools to be able to calm down without being told.
Totally. And it's so important to take self-responsibility for our own personal regulation. If we're not doing our practices, then it's up to us. So I like to consider this like metaphor of whitewater moments in life. Mm-hmm. If you're in a whitewater moment where things are really challenging, you might have found yourself in a situation where it might be tumultuous and things are changing rapidly, or there's a lot of just things coming at you. It's like, well, when you're in the boat, you don't just like sit there. You gotta like really, like, you gotta sit up tall, and you gotta like engage your core, and you gotta like be paddling, and you have to be present, and you gotta make sure that you have your life vest on, and you've got, everything's anchored down, and that's like similar to when in life, when these whitewater moments, then that means up our practices. That means make sure we're eating well, make sure that we're getting our movement practices, the meditation, the hydration, like boost our self-care moments when we are faced with these challenging times. It's like, I think it's always good to have healthy practices, of course. And especially when, and sometimes that can be challenging because it's like, oh, well, I got a lot of things to focus on, and I got like so many things to do. So meditation is going to go out the window. But it's actually, that could be one of the most critical ingredients. That could be your oar, and if you face a whitewater situation without an oar, that's very difficult.
Yeah. I think I'm wanting to react that there's nothing wrong with finding yourself in a whitewater raft moment, that we're talking about like how to best handle it, but it's not a situation where if you are dysregulated that you have failed, or you are not good at this, or you are not a balanced, calm, healthy person. It's just knowing that you're going to be dysregulated. How can you maybe preempt your patterns, like, and maybe know what your bad and good habits or patterns are. Like, I know that when I am not feeling right, I eat. And that does not make me feel better. I don't mean like I'm hungry and I nourish myself. I mean, like, I don't like the way I'm feeling on a subconscious level. So I start eating carbs and would just like reflexively just shove things in my mouth. Like, I've caught myself after getting a bad email, and I'm like shoveling chips in my mouth. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I didn't even know that I did. I don't even remember picking up the bag. And so knowing that is one of my bad responses can sometimes help me to go, is there something else I could do right now? Could I go for a walk, jog, and try to move this energy through me in a different way? I'll be totally honest that that's a difficult choice for me.
Oh, totally. And how do you catch it in the moment? I know I personally have done that before, where I'm like putting something in my mouth and I'm like, I don't even want to eat this right now. I'm not hungry. Right. And so to be able to have that self-awareness is one thing, but then it's even like more powerful to be able to take the reins and go like, actually, I have the self-control to like put that food or whatever substance it is down, call myself out, and turn to movement or breath or meditation or whatever it is. That takes a very strong will to be able to do that as a continuous practice. And I think that that's where like the daily practices come in, because then like you're talking about gratitude, right? When you're practicing gratitude on a daily basis, it's strengthening that lens. When we strengthen our practices, then when that challenging email comes in, then there's like this built-in fortitude to be able to see, oh, I don't have to choose that chip right now. I have a strongly integrated breathwork practice that I know how to use in this moment. And it's some work, and it's well worth it.
Yeah, indeed. And it's what we're talking about essentially is two components to regulation, self-regulation. One is preventative, and the other is like kind of an in the moment cure. And I think that's what we're looking to kind of touch on today. So it's like, what can we do? We've already mentioned a few of them already. What can we do to keep ourselves from becoming dysregulated in the face of whatever stresses that we're encountering? And then, like Halcyon was saying, like it's not a failure to find yourself in a dysregulated state. But when we're there, what do you do? How do you pull yourself out of it? And I think there's going to be a lot of crossover between, what's preventative, keeps us from getting there, and what we can do in the moment. And one of those is, as you mentioned, Betsy, is the breath. And it's really key for us to have some experience with conscious breathing. And just knowing that because a lot of times when I'm finding myself, I've been taking short breaths for as long as I can, like think. It's like, how I've been breathing today. And it's just been like, just like, I'm exaggerating, but it's short breath. But taking that breath in, my own personal practice is kind of like to breathe in for 5, hold for 10, breathe out for 5, and just kind of increase those numbers by 1 after every cycle. And that takes maybe a minute to do. But when I'm done, if you conscious breathe deeply for a short amount of time, your body will naturally do it on its own for a time after that. So it's just you're expanding your lung capacity to, like, that was holding those breaths improves, like, because your lungs get sticky kind of at the bottom of it. So taking that air in deeply, your lungs will slowly start to expand. So you're able to take a deep breath. And then when I find that I'm really taking those deep breaths, and after I'm done for a couple minutes of that, and I'm just like, I'm feeling so much better and so much more relaxed, just simply from the breath.
I'm finding myself taking deep breaths just listening to you. And that feels so good. Right. That's so good. There's a great book called Breathe by James Nestor. I think a lot of people have listened to it at this point. And if you haven't, it's great. And if you haven't listened to it a second time, it's even better the second time. And it talks about so many things in there around our the evolution of our breath. And, technically full breath is 5.5 seconds in, 5.5 seconds out. But so rare do we do that every day throughout the day. It's much shorter than that. And so like consciously putting forth the effort to breathe can change everything. There's a quote too that says, the quality of our breath determines the quality of our life. I'm not quite sure who said it, so forgive me for not quoting the person, but it's very impactful to consider that. The quality of our breath determines the quality of our life.
For whatever reason, I'm thinking Tony Robbins was either quoting somebody about that, or it's actually his quote. I have a thing he's quoting somebody about that.
Maybe we'll double check. And then also I'll just kind of like add on too, because from my recent moment where I was dysregulated, I was really happy that I was like able to see some tools in the moment, because it was like, all the emotions, everything's coming. And then it was like, all of a sudden I was like, okay, first remove myself from a potentially dangerous, unsafe, in my perspective, unsafe environment. That's the first. And then the second, I was like, okay, I need to get to the ocean. I need to get to nature. That was my first instinct. It was like, go to nature, go get into a space where I feel I can breathe. And I think the ocean really does that for me. So does the forest, but any nature. And as soon as I got to the ocean, it was like, take some deep breaths, like settle my body. And then I noticed my attention start going onto nature, looking at the trees. I was witnessing the birds. I was witnessing the waves. And that was really helpful too, because it brought me into the moment, into this present moment, knowing like this moment I'm safe. maybe a few moments ago, I was not safe. And I noticed how the focus on nature just brought me back into my body, brought me back into the moment. I was able to just calm down, start to see more clearly. So yeah, breath, nature, or anything to really help to bring us back into the moment. And a song came actually, a little song line that I shared with the guys right before, that came through.
I think we should hear it. We should probably hear it.
It was a series of things that happened this weekend that kind of brought this little song line in, which is, come on back into your body. Come on back into your heart. Come on back into this moment. Let's make it a fresh start. And it was like, I kept singing that. It was like, all right, okay. And the singing also like helped me come back to my joy also.
I feel like that needs like a banjo.
Everything needs more banjo.
Yeah.
Everything more banjo.
About the nature, I think like the ocean specifically for me is one of an anchoring, soothing element. And I think like it's because of the size. There's something about seeing the scale of the ocean. Same is true with like a mountain, anything of that's massive that I can get the sense of this thing has been there for so long. Mm-hmm. That there's something about the scale of it and the time scale that just it starts to dissolve a little bit of the intensity of the moment for me.
Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, wait a second. I'm just this tiny little being, and there's this humongous, infinite, expansive universe. We're on a rock hurling through space. All of a sudden, my problems seem to be a lot less.
And there's how many billions of creatures beneath the ocean that are going through the life and death struggles in this moment, you know? And okay. You know, the one of the things that I sometimes, we talk about fight and flight, but there's also a freeze, you know, and so that is something that that I become aware of. I had a moment recently when I was in a difficult conversation, and my partner, in a very calm way, was reflecting some things about a past experience where she reflected things that I could do differently that would have been better for her, you know, an incredibly helpful, healthy thing for a partner to say, to grow together. But something about being, you know, I went into a child story, a child place of not doing good enough, you know, and I froze up, and I didn't realize until later that I was kind of trying to punish her, you know, for telling me I did something wrong. So I was kind of like a pouty, frozen, quiet thing. And I had to, you know, luckily, you know, at 20 minutes later, I was able to recognize what I had done and say, thank you for your courage in sharing this. Thank you for trusting me enough to believe that our relationship can continue to grow. Thank you for recognizing that we are here together to help each other grow. And thank you for your patience with me as I got dysregulated from this conversation. And I think that the ability to trust someone and know that the stumble is not a failure is really important.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. That's a really powerful place to be in partnership, to be able to recognize when you're in your parts, right? You talked about this like child part of you that came out, and you were able to self-reflect. And then actually, I'm curious, are you guys feeling closer now after
Definitely.
going some of those hard places?
Yes. And so we had a conversation the next day, and before we even began, we spoke it, you know, we put it out there like, hey, some of the things we're going to talk about are going to trigger us, you know? And so can we trust each other that if I have a reaction that isn't, you know, positive, that you won't interpret it as bad, you know, that it is on the path of healing for us. So can we trust each other in that space, which was this is a new level of communication for me in a relationship. And because both of us are, I think, people pleasers, we really do not deal well if we cause any sort of, discomfort. And so having to talk ourselves into the discomfort is how we're going to grow. The discomfort is how we're going to be able to continue to speak truth and trust that we can do it. So it's the conversation has really led to a deeper, I think, confidence in our ability to grow.
It's so powerful.
Yeah. Especially I'm sorry, but especially in relationship, like having the ability, if not the agreement, to be like, okay, like I think it's a mistake for us to try to like remove all these triggers that we have, because we're human beings. I think triggers are part of the deal. But how do we manage it when we are triggered? And that's what, having the ability to be like, all right, if I'm triggered, I'm going to need maybe 20 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever. I need my partner to be okay with that, so that I can. So, because if I'm going to be forced to do this thing during my 20-minute trigger period, things can get out of hand pretty quickly. So it's like, all right, I'm feeling dysregulated. I have a practice, but that involves me going into my little cave for 20 minutes. And then when I come out, we can continue from a much better place. And that being, having somebody who can receive that is crucial.
Yeah. So important.
Because it's we're talking about self-regulation, but it's also, being able to co-regulate is a big deal. When there's other people involved, we got to be able to have that ability for each other.
Yeah.
So, and a shared practice.
I would say that when you do have the break or time to cool down, you really have to commit to returning to the conversation, returning to the topic. Otherwise, it can break down, and resentment is a quick next step.
Yeah, that's flight, to be like, I'm out. But to have agreements is really powerful, to go like, actually, you know what, we're going to come back. One of the things that I was really grateful to learn is EFT. I'm still a novice at it, but emotional freedom technique is tapping, can be really powerful when triggered. To notice when the different cortisol levels start to rise and you start to feel that stress or the trigger, especially in conversation with someone, to be able to like just take a moment and start. I always like to do the little tapping on my the side of my hand. That's a really calming thing for me. And you can tap on your chest just a little bit, and learning how to pause in the moment when we're triggered. It's like, okay, like I just heard what you said, and I'm feeling really triggered by that. I need to just pause for a second and just like internalize that, and hopefully like make some sense of that, and then learn how to like breathe, check in. Like I recently actually came to a realization too around like, okay, I'm feeling calm, having a conversation that has some complexity. And then there was one word that the other person said that brought something up inside of me. I was like, something inside my solar plexus or my gut just kind of was like, oh God, oh, that. And I was like, that's for me to learn, right? That's my trigger. Okay, I can like be with the tension that brought and really like check in with myself. In the moment, I didn't. In the moment, I was like, ugh, I can't believe you said that. See, I knew that, a little like brat comes out and like trying to prove a point. And then it's like, wait a second. No, wait. Okay. How can I actually harness the power of that tension in my body as a little flag to myself? Saying, hey, Betsy, this is where you get to start to look at yourself, to know about the other person and go like, oh, wow, okay, I get to work on it was judgment. Judgment is like something that I really like get triggered by. I don't want to feel judged. Like, am I judging? And so I'm really grateful for the practices to keep coming back and the tapping to be able to get through, especially if you're talking to somebody else who's dysregulated. how do you maintain your own state of personal, grounded connection to yourself without getting like what it's like feeling swept up in the vortex, you know? And so, yeah, tapping, breath, nature, taking those pause moments, right? Knowing when we can actually like ask for what we need. Like, hey, I'd like to have 5 minutes here, or I need a few days, or whatever it might be. And then making those agreements to come back to be able to feel more calm. We can face the situations from calmness, and so much more can get worked out.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, when you talk about when you can recognize yourself being dysregulated or triggered or whatever vocabulary that you can use in the moment, if someone you are with vocalizes that, they're not saying you did something wrong that triggered me. They're saying this conversation that is normal, something about it has pulled me into something old that has nothing to do with you. So to say, oh, I'm triggered, what they're saying is, please forgive me. I'm going to have a reaction that is beyond the scope of our relationship. So I think that can be super helpful when you go, oh, okay. I don't feel any guilt about this. I don't have to defend myself. I have to just give you a little space to have the experience you're having without pushing farther into it.
Ooh, I'm loving at this, like the turn of this conversation. Nervous system regulation was the intention, right? And we're getting to unpack so much insight and sparks around relational dynamics and how to navigate conversations that might be challenging, or like emotional responses that can come up when we're with other people. And I think that's like really important.
Yeah. Well, isn't that often the source of our dysregulation is conflict, conflict with somebody else. We rarely dysregulate ourselves. It happens, certainly, but it's usually because somebody said the right thing at the wrong time, or we're not feeling heard. We don't feel safe. And usually, sometimes we don't feel safe in our own presence, but a lot of times is we don't feel safe in the presence of others, or that encounter has got us feeling unsafe about something that is connected to our past or our history. So it's usually, that's what they say, like the relationships are here to, that's the main point, is to help us grow. And we do the same for others, ideally. So, touching, go ahead.
I'll say that one relationship that is a little outside of this, but I think is cause for a lot of dysregulation is to the anonymous people on the internet, or people that are commenting on things. It's a pretty common experience to read something and get triggered and feel responsibility to respond, to correct someone, to share whatever view that you have, to correct that person. And it's amazing how, as algorithms get more complex or evolved, and the systems that we are engaged with know that triggering you equals $. Like it is the best way that they can, increase their bottom line is to put in front of you things that are going to make you dysregulated. And it's so horrible. And but just knowing that you're in it, I think is really important. And then trying to find some way to put a stop, just like you would in a relationship. Like, oh, I need to take a walk around the block. Can I walk around the block before I respond here? And it's so hard because it is so easy. We can just, but I've been really practicing and trying to get better at trying to just quickly picture, like, what amount of energy is this going to require of me versus what is the response is going to evoke. And if I can take a moment to think logically, this is very different than an engagement with somebody I'm in a relationship that I care about, that at some point is listening to me. This is someone who wants to fight. And so any energy that I put into it, I am simply basically consenting to fighting with them. And so I got to say, okay, it is so difficult to be dysregulated and walk away and say, I'm going to let this person think something that is wrong. I'm going to let this person have a belief about me that is negative. I'm going to let this person go on with their life, spreading this poison in the world, because if I can't stop them, and if I sit down to fight with them, I have now depleted so much of the energy that I could use in a better way in the world.
Yes, so powerful. And I feel like when we start to become more and more aware that those stresses, the anger, the frustration, the angst is actually causing harm to our own body, the stress that comes from the grudge that we're holding, or the tightness of, whatever it is that we're holding on to is actually impacting our own personal bodies. Then we can start to go actually, I want to feel good, right? Yeah. But it does take self-awareness to be able to say oh, wow, is me being angry at this person helpful to my health and vitality? Probably not. So how do I want to move it? How do I want to clear it from my system, right? Because it's it stores up in our tissues, and that can create all kinds of problems, it's all connected. And so I think that's a really important thing that, I had this vision of if you get triggered by somebody that says something online, and then you're I'm just going to go. I'm going to go for a walk, and I'm going to just think about all the reasons why I just don't think that's right. And I just feel so angry at this person or organization or whatever it is. It's well, how do we channel that emotion into either release or some kind of action or some kind of movement? Because otherwise we're just grumbling about it. It just can create long-term issues in our own physical bodies.
Yep. I've been rediving into some Stoic philosophy podcasts, and it's actually has the part of the goal or the mindset is it's a way to actually triggers that you might have, or just have your triggers are not necessarily available to just anybody who's trying to reach, trying to reach them. And the idea of, or having the philosophy of, I don't need to have an opinion on everything. I don't need to have something to say about this thing that's happening online, or this relationship that's happening over there that has nothing to do with me at all. It's not asking for my attention, but a lot of times we are looking for something to hook our attention onto for whatever reason. I think we get kind of programmed for that, but by modern society. But it's important to realize this thing doesn't necessarily need my input. And when we stop giving our input to everything that asks for it, we find ourselves in a much more peaceful place. And realizing that, there's just that we don't have to, allow these things to hook onto us. And like Halcyon was saying, there's a certain amount of wisdom to be gained by realizing that we can, letting people be wrong about something or how we view them as wrong is that's actually a big piece that goes a long way towards keeping our own peace and our own selves regulated. Just being no, that if somebody that we know is objectively wrong about something, it's you can let them be wrong about that. That's fine. Even if that thing is about you. God, Halcyon's hair is so ridiculous. Why does he do that? And just being not everybody has to like my hair.
That's a bad example because
I don't need to be loved by everybody.
I got something to say about your hair.
It's something I've been meaning to say, actually. I've been meaning to say something about that. But yeah, you do you, Halcyon, you do you. And let others do them. That's fine. That goes a long way towards avoiding those self-regulating or this dysregulation states. It's just people can be wrong. It's okay.
Totally. Yep. And it's okay. Yep. Yeah, I love how many different layers of this conversation have revealed themselves so unexpectedly, and so always so inspired by having these drop-ins with you guys. So thank you so much for this. I think we probably could keep going, but in the interest of time and our intention here, I'd love to start to close it out with some closing sparks. So how about you, Halcyon? You got any closing sparks for us?
Sure. Yeah. I think the big thread for me here is recognizing that the systems that we are existing in are ones that get dysregulated, and that understanding that with the people that are important to you allows you to repair quickly when it happens. It allows you to hopefully start to practice, know that you're not failing when you do it, but knowing that repair is so important. If I'm in a relationship with somebody, whether it's a friendship or a professional relationship or a romantic relationship, if they yell at me, that is not the end of our relationship. If they the next day say, you know what, you didn't deserve that. Cool. We're good. Life is about building trusting relationships with people where we can hopefully yell less or notice it sooner or catch ourselves sooner. But if the person in this relationship, if that person just goes on with their life and it's an acceptable dip, if being dysregulated and reacting from that place is never acknowledged, that's a person that I cannot really build a relationship with. I cannot, if they don't acknowledge that was not the way they want to be. Because I think we're always in a place of acting at our best and sometimes slipping. And when we build relationships, we build community so that we can make that ratio better and better and better. And when we do slip, we let the people know that we're sorry and that we know we did it and we're doing better next time.
Yes, repair.
Yeah,
so powerful. Yeah, right. My closing spark is something we didn't really touch too much on, is like understanding how the nervous system actually works. The vagus nerve is a very important part of our body, and there's so much resource and science that shows us how to work with our vagus nerve, the polyvagal theory. There's just so many wonderful articles and videos and teachers that are sharing wonderful information around how do we practice having nervous system regulation. I just posted one yesterday around a very easy, simple practice around getting in touch with your vagus nerve, which is like basically in your neck into your shoulder. And so it's a simple massage practice where you massage your neck and then you turn your head and you press and move in a certain way and breathe in a certain way. There's also even sounds that we can make that help with calming the nervous system. And so it's a really beautiful time that we live to have understanding and access to the intelligence that our bodies truly are. It's absolutely amazing, and we have like the ability to try these practices on ourselves. So that's my closing spark, is just really celebrating that we have so much resource to better understand how intelligent our bodies are and work with our bodies to be able to have the best life that we can and move as gracefully as we can in the whitewater moments of life and the challenges of life and the triggers that are inevitable in our relationships and from all the different lions that are chasing us metaphorically.
Mm-hmm. You're here.
You're here to that. So yeah, and kind of expanding on that, like these practices, these techniques, these tools are free, and they are actually, and a lot of it comes down to simplicity for me. That's the closing spark I want to leave us with, is that a lot of this stuff is simple. When we find ourselves in a place of dysregulation or being upset, no matter what the source of that is, it's like for me, I'm practicing to be able to reduce it to its simple components, being like, okay, so yeah, maybe I'm just hungry, or maybe I'm just not hydrated. Maybe I'm tired. Maybe there's why am I so triggered by this thing? Why am I feeling so, and more often than not, it's less about what somebody said or what somebody was approaching me. It's like the medicine that the plant medicines that I've had some experience with have really driven it home. Like, turn it around. It's you. It's you. It's like, not, why is this person always doing this? Why aren't you somebody that is always allowing it? It always would turn it around for me. And I feel like I've gained and learned a lot from that and grown a lot from that. So it's like, okay, so what can I do instead of like being rah about this person or this situation? What can I do to be less triggered by that, just in general or in life? And it always comes down to, the breath, staying hydrated. What am I eating? Am I moving around very much? Like, what sort of state has this trigger found me in? And once there's almost always something. I'm rarely in a state where I'm handling my business thoroughly and being triggered. If I'm on top of my practices, if I'm moving my body, if I'm feeling clean, if I've gotten some sunlight on me, I'm way less like triggered, and way less dysregulated. So it starts with us, handle our, kind of keep it close to home, and we will enjoy the benefits as a result.
Hey. Beautiful. Yes. Aho. So true. Good reminders. I think this conversation is full of reminders today. So thank you guys. Love to check in. How can our listeners find you? Love to start with you, Halcyon.
I am available online at lifestudent.com. You can join me for daily gratitude circles or a morning love broadcast at lifestudent.com.
Awesome. Simple, clear, direct. Love it. How about you, Janus?
I've got my nutritional supplement company called NuWorld Nutritionals, spelled NuWorld Nutritionals. And we actually have a new product coming out. We got some gummies coming that are going to be, having all the same ingredients, but in gummy delivery form for the people who like those tasty little bears. They're mushroom based, good for your brain, good for your attitude, good for your mood, anything for your brain. It's a spa day for your brain. So check us out at newworldnutritionals.com. Use the code SPARKED for 10% off of all of our products, and keep an eye out for those gummies.
Yummy. Maybe even good for your nervous system. Ooh.
Very good for your nervous system. Absolutely.
Well, yes, you guys can find me also poweraffirmation.com, where you can find a variety of products to help you to boost your mindset. And I also have a new one too. The Power Affirmation Inspiration Cards are officially here and launched. I'm so excited to be sending these out. For those of you who have listened to this full episode and have made it thus far, I am sending out a Stay Sparked code for 10% off your inspiration cards. I will bless them myself and send a little love note. And if you want to reach out in any other capacity for the journal or for body work, I love working with people to help them to feel really good, mind, body, and spirit. So feel free to reach out.
Yeah. Hey, well, before we finish up, any chance we could get a affirmation from you, Betsy?
Yes, I am actually feeling really sparked about an affirmation right now that I was taking notes from this conversation, because I also do some audio affirmations on Insight Timer. They're lengthier, full tracks with wonderful music. And I want to do one actually for breathing and nervous system. So let's see what comes through for this one for us.
Great.
Okay. All right. So let's take a deep breath. Letting out a sigh. I am centered. I am centered. I am grounded. I am grounded. It is easy for me to take a deep breath. It's easy for me to take a deep breath. My nervous system is lubricated and calm. My nervous system is lubricated and calm. I am relaxed. I am relaxed. And I move through this world with grace. I move through this world with grace. I move through this world with grace. You just let that just simmer and support you in continuing to move with a calm nature through all of life's challenges, ups and downs, staying regulated and balanced. Thank you all so much for listening and for tending to your own mind, body, and spirit so we all can make this world a more peaceful place.
Hey, stay spark, people.
Find us on Instagram at Stay Sparked and leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts.
Thanks so much for helping us spread these sparks.